Hey guys, welcome back to Hands On Channel. As you saw earlier, we were looking at the Sandblaster that I have here, and I was going to actually make a video about predominantly the Sandblaster, but I thought, after I started sandblasting these things, I was actually just intending on blasting the inside of this one here, but then I saw this dirty little sign right here that says China, and of course this one's a Lodge USA. I'm not sure how old this one is. I don't think it's very old. My wife actually just picked this up in a junk sale, and this one I got for her years ago as like a Christmas gift or something, and it had this real heavy black coating on it. In fact, there's still a little tiny bit of it on there that I couldn't get off with my blaster, but I didn't want any more of that coating on there. Who knows what the Chinese are putting in their cast iron coating. I mean, it could, we've heard of stories of lead products and stuff like that coming out of there. Well, I didn't want to take any chances with my family and our health, and so I went ahead and blasted that off. I like to do that kind of on these cast iron, even the USA ones. I like to blast that protective coating off and then put our own seasoning on there. It just seems to me, it's just a more natural, I think, way to do it. But I'm real excited about this one. We've never had one of these griddle style like this before. You can see it's got the raised areas there for like grilling steak and burgers and hot dogs, things like that, whatever you might grill. So that's exciting. Ready to use that. But yeah, just thought I'd give you a shot of after we cleaned it up here. And back to the Sandblaster. The reason I'm making this video is that man, that Econoline Sandblaster has been a fantastic tool for me. Now, I don't generally use it for this kind of stuff, but just on a daily basis, day-to-day working stuff, when you need to, this is an experiment I've got going here. I've got this full of vinegar and some rusty parts. I'm just testing that out. But yeah, if you need to get some rust off of something real quick, there's hardly anything that'll beat a Sandblaster, and it preps the surface just perfectly for your paint job or whatever however you're gonna finish it. So we're gonna walk over here and take a look at this Econoline Sandblaster. I'm kind of waiting for the compressor to kick off so you guys will be able to hear me over there. So what we're looking at here is my Econoline Sandblaster. I use this thing probably, I don't know, twice a week, something like that, when I'm real busy every day. But in the summertime I tend to use it more. But this is probably I've got more money tied up in this one tool here, I think, than any other tool. Bought this thing about close to 10 years ago now, and it cost me back then about close to $1,500 when I picked it up. So I'm sure they've gone up in price. It has, of course, you've got your place here where you can get in there and with your gloves and your hands are protected and everything. For those of you that don't know how to operate one, this one has a foot switch to turn the nozzle on and off the gun. It also has a regulator over here so that you can control how much pressure you're going in with, and I actually keep this thing set fairly low. I've got it on just a little over 40 psi right now, because if you go too hard, this one actually uses glass beads, and if you go too hard you just end up destroying your glass beads, and you don't want to do that. So as you saw earlier in the earlier clip, that you can actually open it here and load larger pieces, and it has a valve inside of there that where is it? There's a valve somewhere, a switch. You heard that little air switch. So that air puff that you heard, basically when you open this door, it makes it to where it renders the foot valve useless. So if I hit this foot valve, I believe, I'm going to go ahead and close it just a little. Yes. It's a safety, so it kills there's no way you can accidentally step on that and blast yourself in the eye or something, let's say. So I really like that. Let me get this. I've made a chain up here. I put a chain on this shelf up above just so that I can clip that up like so. Okay, we'll just take a look around, and I can turn the light on, but it's going to be a little noisy. So let me do that. Okay, as you can see, here's the gun, and it's professional quality. I can't remember what the CFM on this one is, but that's the business end of the thing right there, and you hang on to it. Of course, you can see that used to be a clear tube, and you can kind of see the sand flowing through there. I can still sort of see it, but you can see on the back where I do all my blasting right in here, you know, some of the stuff deflects off and hits this back wall. But man, I've run this thing for 10 years and it's just been fantastic. I haven't had any problems with it. Even, I'm pretty sure, yeah, I'm gonna say these are the original gloves to this machine. So everything on this is just built really well. If I have any complaints about it, it's that it has this plastic Lexan type of a lens in it, and this inside piece is a little thin film that you put on here to protect the Lexan. And the one I used at a previous business I worked at, theirs had safety glass in it, and one day I plan on going ahead and upgrading this to the safety glass. You heard that switch kick back on there. Yeah, sorry for that glare and the lights, but there's a latch right here. You put that up, just latch it down. But yeah, you can pull this lens out pretty easily, and there's some replacement protective films that you put on the inside that keeps the majority of the sandblasting material media off of your lens there. Keeps that working for a long time, so that's okay. The only thing about the film is the film, after 2 or 3 uses, the film is has got a haze on it. So let me turn that light back on with the lens so you can kind of see that haze on there, hopefully. Yeah, there's a little bit of a haze on it after you use it for a little while, so that's kind of a drag. And I think with the safety glass, because the safety glass is harder, you would have to almost be spraying directly at the thing to make that happen, to make it damage the glass. And the safety glass lasts a lot longer. So you've got a light source up here at the top, and it has another one of those layers of film on there to protect that from sandblasting. Most of the time I load from down here just because it's more convenient, and most of the pieces I'm working with are of the size that I can load them through this in. Occasionally I have had to load larger stuff through the top there. That's where you get into limitations. If you're trying to blast anything really big inside of this cabinet, it gets more difficult because you run out of room to basically hold the gun, and you can't really see very well and stuff. So it's really made for pieces that are not really large. You don't want to. I wouldn't want to do anything that was, think of it this way: if it doesn't fit through this door very easily, then it's going to be difficult to blast, because if you have to load it through the top, then you're going to be fighting with it. And it is doable, and I have done it. It just makes it more difficult. And I don't have my other one in here. I was going to spin around here and show you the one I use. I've got an outdoor Sandblaster that actually uses sand. It's a bad boy blaster. It's just one of these roll around tanks, and I use that for anything larger that won't fit in here. But this is fantastic because you don't have to use any dust masks or anything like that. There's a port through the wall, and you can't really see it. Should have showed you when the window was open there. Have to open you back up here. There's a port back here, right there, and that's where the vacuum pump or the dust collector hooks up in the next room. And you can still hear it running probably, but that's why I put it over here in the next room. And I've also got a secondary dryer here to keep the, collect the moisture, any of the moisture that comes through the line, collect it here, and it runs down. I bleed it out once in a while, get any moisture out of there. And I've got my dust collector set up on this switch, so I turn this switch on, all my lights, everything comes on all at once, and I'm ready to blast. This thing is a great tool, again, for rusty things. If you're into car restoration or working on older things, that are going to have rusty parts on them, this thing is an invaluable tool, because you can just do so much. You can cover so much ground with something like this, where, if you had to do it with a wire wheel or a wire or a grinder or something like that, it would take you forever. So, guys, this is probably not for everybody. And again, this one was about $1,500, so unless you're using it commercially or something like that, it's probably not going to be a viable option for you. But if you do a lot of sandblasting, this is probably the way to go. I would probably stay away from the Harbor Freight ones unless you're just doing, very little sandblasting, because I've looked at those things and there's a lot of plastic on them. This thing, it's all steel. It's got a nice thick steel door. I don't know what the gauge is of this metal, but there is no signs of fatigue anywhere on this thing. In fact, this is an heirloom tool. The only thing that I didn't like about it when I got it out of the box and got it here and set it up was that, you know, I'm close to 6 foot tall, and as you can see, I raised it up that much more. I used some carriage bolts and drilled some holes in there. It did not come with those legs, as I'm going to call them. I raised it up another 4 inches, it looks like there, because it was at the wrong height for me. So when I would stand there with my arms in the cuffs here and in the socket, I felt like I was having to really squat down to get in there properly. So you might keep that in mind. I had to spend another, you know, I don't know, 10 or 12 bucks on those lag bolts. Appreciate you tuning in. Hit the thumbs up if you don't mind on the way out. Subscribe, all that fun stuff. And until then, we'll see you next time.